Hello, my friends. It's William back with the Grand Duke Dmitri 1921 Diary Series. And I figured these diary entries are so uncomplicated that we've been doing lately that we could probably get 2 in today. I think that's going to be no problem. So we'll do the 29th and 30th of March, 1921. And just a recap of the 28th, well, it was just the usual routine. The only thing that kind of stood out is that Dmitri talked about his bad sunburn on his face. That must not have made it fun for Coco to kiss him on that sunburned face with the skin peeling off. Kind of gross, but I guess it probably was before there was sunscreen. I don't know when sunscreen was invented. Dmitri doesn't seem to have been particularly careful about these things, but I'm sure Coco was. Okay, so our cast for today: no one except the mysterious Slovitsky, who's some acquaintance of Dmitri's. And, okay, let's start. 29th March, 1921. It's a Tuesday in Monte Carlo at the Riviera Palace Hotel. I went golfing in the morning. The weather was a little better, and it was actually hot once I started playing. I got home around 1 o'clock, took a bath in water that was almost cold, and had lunch with Coco. We ate upstairs. In the afternoon, like the previous day, we drove to Nice. Naturally, I did the driving. It's pure pleasure to sit behind the wheel of such a car. We went back to Monte Carlo for tea and sat down at Orest and then went to the casino. Like before, the only acquaintance I saw was Slovitsky. I dined with Coco at home upstairs and we went to bed early. Okay, the only thing that strikes me as worth mentioning with this one, which is all otherwise quite familiar and self-explanatory, is just the oddity that Dmitri uses the word I when he says, I dined with Coco at home upstairs, instead of saying we, as usual, we dined at home upstairs, at home meaning the hotel. And yeah, I'm not saying that there's anything behind it, just kind of interested me, because I'm always on the lookout for language idiosyncrasies. Okay, anyway, I did want to ask the question, although there's no way right now to get an answer, which is, did Coco drive? She bought this fancy car. Did she always have a driver when she went out, a chauffeur, or did she actually drive? I'm sure that's a known thing. If any of you are Coco experts, you can tell me. And the other thing, I somehow must have missed a line when I was doing the earlier diary entries in one of them, because I remember distinctly that Dmitri had said that they were occupying adjoining rooms at the Riviera Palace. They didn't have a single room, but they had suites, presumably, that were right next door to each other. So I'll have to look and see how I managed to miss that. Okay, so going on to the 30th of March, 1921, a Wednesday, same time, same place, let us say. Well, not same time. Okay. I went golfing in the morning. I played much better than before. The weather was wonderful. I lunched at home, and then Coco and I went to Nice to look for a dog. But, of course, we didn't find one. She was determined to give me one as a gift. We had tea at home at the hotel, upstairs, and dined upstairs as well, then went to bed very early. Okay, our elderly couple here. Going to bed very early, doing the usual routine. What interests me about this one, being a dog person, as all of you know, since you've heard multiple interruptions from my dogs, if you've been watching these videos all along, it interests me that Dmitri he was such a dog person. He always had to have a dog, just always, and it would have been a hardship for him in Paris not to have had one. And apparently he talked about it because Coco, as he says, was determined to give him one as a gift. So they went to Nice. I don't know why Nice in particular, to look for one. Maybe there were pet stores there. I don't know. But yeah, a little bit about Dmitri and his dogs. In the 1906-1907 diaries, it seems like he had a cat, based on the fact that this animal unfortunately was going to the bathroom under his bed and in the bathtub, and I've never known a dog to go to the bathroom in a bathtub, so I'm assuming it was a cat. I don't know, but the earliest reference I know of to him having a dog, well, there was a Great Dane that belonged to a German officer on the battlefield at Cauchin, and when that horrible battle was over, the dog attached itself to Dmitri. Its master had been killed, but Dmitri didn't keep it for very long. He found another home for it. And then after that, the next reference to a dog would be his dog that was, his dog at his residence in Petersburg at the palace there. Its name was Palach, and it was a little kind of Spitz dog, I think. This is in Maria's memoirs, and Palach means the executioner, so probably kind of a joke name. And after that, he didn't have a dog in Persia, but once he got to London, he was dead set on getting a dog, even when he was still staying at the Ritz, when he was still in the hotel. And so he went through a few. The first one he got was a chow. It was an adult dog, but he nonetheless bought it at a pet store. And the chow would, Dmitri, I don't know why, he would take the chow to the park. He did this 2 times, and both times the chow just took off. And he was lucky enough to recover it 2 times, but he finally figured out that it wasn't really suited to, I guess, what he wanted from a dog, and it went to some friends of his. It went to their country estate. And then he got himself a bull terrier, and again, he let it off the leash. He let it off the leash at Green Park, and it went and mauled some poor woman's little dog, and he ended up having to rehome that one too. And then in Paris, he doesn't have one. And so Coco's trying to find him one for a pet. And the picture that I attached to this video is this thumbnail, is a close-up of a photo I used earlier, the one that shows Dmitri behind the wheel of a car and Coco on the running board and a dog in the car. And I'm not sure if it was the Rolls and if it was taken during the trip to the Riviera, but I did a closer view in it of the dog, which looks like a wire-haired fox terrier, I think. And then, I have a picture from later. Dmitri, probably in his 30s, with a spaniel of some kind, and he's wearing hunting clothes. And then I also know from his diaries and from the biography of Alexander Kazembek that he had a little dog, a Cocker Spaniel, named Sugar, that he had to give away. He gave to the Kazembeks because he was going to Schatzalp, to the sanatorium, where he couldn't have a dog, unfortunately for him, because it would have been a big mood boost for him. And the other thing I know came from his son, Paul, and Paul told me, Paul just loved dachshunds. He had, I think, 3 or 4 when I was visiting him in Palm Beach, and apparently he'd always loved dachshunds. He had a dachshund emblem, little statue made to put on the hood of one of his cars. And he told me how he'd had dachshunds as a boy too, and he'd been responsible for walking them. But once in a while, Dmitri would do him a favor and would walk his dogs. But Dmitri had his hands full with his own dogs. He had, Paul said he had these big, I think they were Norwegian elk hounds. They were some kind of Scandinavian Spitz kind of dogs but were large. And he would walk them and walk every day, the 4 of them, and sometimes would be willing to walk Paul's little dachshunds too. I don't know how he managed that. I can barely walk my 2 dogs, but that was probably when they were on the Beaumesnil estate, and he probably didn't have to have all 8 of them on the leash, which I think would have been impossible. Okay, so that's a little summary of Dmitri's life with dogs. Maybe others will come to my attention, hopefully, and I'll find out more about the dogs that he had over the years. I always have Great Danes. They're my favorite breed, and I've had, Great Danes since I was a teenager. And then I get my break every year when I'm in the Alps for 3 months, and my dad takes care of the dogs. Okay, so we have one more of these diary entries left. It's for the 31st, and it is a little more romantic, still basically the routine, but they do a couple of different things this time as a couple. So I decided, yeah, it's still short, but I'm going to do that one on its own, and then we will be diving right into the long diary entry of the 15th, and we'll find out more in depth about what life was like with Coco. All right, I hope to see you then. Bye.